Hello there, Tom Holeby with Ashgar Defense. What do an enhanced safety lever, a Serpa holster, and this flashlight have in common? Well, simply put, they're really bad designs. It's winter time now, or at least getting around to winter time, so it's getting kind of cold, and people are putting pistol lights on their pistols. And I just want to take a minute to caution people against this specific design. Not necessarily the model, this is Crimson, or the brand, this is Crimson Trace, but this inward press button design. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you put a light on your pistol or don't put a light on your pistol. None of that really matters to me. A bunch of dudes have different disciplines on the subject. What I do care about is that you avoid these cheap lights. And Crimson Trace isn't cheap, but this activator is. Now, the issue is that when you press out with this, and I'll try to keep it in frame, and you want light, you run the risk of having an ND. Same way I've seen it happen with AKs and their enhanced safety levers, and we're all familiar with the Serpa holsters. Any sort of activation switch that encourages you to put your finger in the trigger as a consequence of its use or misuse should be negated, i.e. get rid of that. I have the AK with the enhanced safety here. I don't get rid of it because, one, I don't use it inappropriately. Two, I don't want to have to run out and find another one so that I could demonstrate to people why it's dangerous. But some of you may remember the AK video that I made where the use of the safety lever inappropriately or incorrectly is that. You could just say, well, don't do that. Go train. My simple answer is go train. Come train with me. You will, if you're one of those people who uses those and on-offs the safety, you will have an ND. Not because I have forced you to. So just like you do that with the enhanced safety, you run that risk with these inward pressing buttons. Really, it just comes down to fatigue or 3 a.m. conditioning. And what I mean by 3 a.m. conditioning is you have the home invasion, and this is what you've got, and you're trying to figure it out, and you'll notice a few times I failed to get the light on, which means I would have had a discharge trying to get the light on super fast, and I didn't even illuminate before I saw. And that's a problem too. Flashlights are confirmation tools. A lot of people misinterpret them as seeking tools or hunting tools. They're not. They are confirmation. You know that someone is in the building that does not belong. You just don't know who that someone is. And it very easily could go from home invader to, oh, that's my teenager coming back in the room. And so that is where the problems lie on these activators. Ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to point a loaded firearm at people you care about because it's home invasion. You don't know where people are. It's dark. That's kind of how things work. So I avoid these because as I'm pointing this to confirm that this is in fact my kid, I don't want to have an ND at that moment in time. It's not super bueno. Or my dog, because my dogs are loud and stupid and clumsy, but I'm going to react to every one of those loud, clumsy, stupid moments as if there's a home invader, because when I don't, it'll actually be somebody. So that's my caution. If you're looking for flashlights, unfortunately, you may have to spend a little bit of money, or at least just be very, have a lot of discretion on what flashlight you get. Now, if you're looking for blanket statement, Surefire Streamlight. The Surefire X300, like this one here, is the one I use. This is my bedside pistol. So it comes out of the holster. When I go to bed, I put this on there and I put it down. Now I have a flashlight attached, and when I wake up, take it off, put the gun in my holster, and I go about my day. But the reason why I like Surefire, beyond that little feature, is the activator is an up movement or a down movement or an outward movement away from the trigger. To the trigger is inward, away from the trigger is outward. So it's outward pressure or up or down. Okay? This has a DG switch on it, so I actually have another way, and that is with the middle finger, so still not the trigger finger, to engage the light. I am a fan of having my light activation digits being separate from my trigger activation digits. I really prefer my trigger finger only have one job. With handguns, it's two, because I keep the magazine release stock on all my pistols. So being a lefty, you're going to have to do this little funky number to get that magazine out, and that's okay. But if I can keep it down to two jobs, I'll be a happy camper. And this goes back to stimuli. When we train and when we practice, we develop our stimuli, we develop our habits, our abilities, and sometimes, even under the best of conditions, there will be some crosswire going on in your brain. And so if I use, say, a rifle as an example, I like a pressure switch. And you don't have to use a pressure switch if you don't want to, but this is my rifle. But the reason I like the pressure switch is one separate appendage engages light, separate digit from the normal digit engages light. So it's a thumb press. So if I switch hands and I start to get a little crisscrossed with everything, because maybe it's 3 a.m., I'm not quite awake, or I'm too tired, whatever the condition or criteria needs to be, and I have everything switched in my head, then the thumb remains the light activation neurological pathway. Thumb has never been trigger. Finger has always been trigger. So I'm forcing myself to have the correct response. So even if I'm wrong, I'm just thumbing into the grip or fingering into the guard. I'm not having light, trigger, right? So that's just a little bit of why the whys and the hows I do things. This is personal. So when you come over to me and train with me, that's what you're going to learn. And if you train with someone else, you'll learn something different, which is fantastic also. Ultimately, though, for those who went out and bought, a Crimson Trace or an Enforce or any of those other brands, I'm not going to tell you to get rid of it. This isn't like an enhanced safety lever. Enhanced safety levers are fucking cheap, and the replacements for them are also cheap. I do know that flashlights tend to be expensive, and if you're you go, oh, Tom, you're right, I should, because that thing does concern me. This is going to be a $300 flashlight with a $100 pressure switch if you choose to get that, but $300 usually for the light itself. So that's a bit of an expensive replacement because you went with that. And by the way, shame on the companies that build this shit. You guys know full fucking well what you did, and shame on you. You went with the worst possible design you could for a light just so you could avoid Surefire and Streamlight. Because this is Serpa holster levels of unsafe. A lot of companies, and I have to caution people about this, a lot of companies will produce this stuff, and it is an objectively dangerous thing, but that's because it was never meant to be used in a self-defense situation. It was only ever meant to be used in competition. In competition, the consequences of fucked up shots is that you lose the game, you lose the competition. That's all well and good. In my world, in my environment, the consequences for a fucked up shot is your kid's dead, and you're the one responsible for it, and the charges that come with it. So for me, I tend to reduce and remove all possible tools and that could wind up costing me my own family. You know, they'll say it's the fastest way to get to light trigger. Yeah, that usually means I can do that really fast and when I don't want to, or, you know. So that's just a little bit on that. Be careful when you go out and buy gear. Just because the guy who's fast on the interweb says it's great doesn't mean that it's actually great. It tends to just mean that it's a competition piece. Enhanced safety levers, it's the same fucking thing. And really, enhanced safety levers were just to subserviate the safety on, safety off guys. I've worked with this for quite a bit. I cannot think of a reason why enhanced safety levers exist beyond, so I can safety on, safety off when I'm doing stuff. If you have proper trigger discipline, you don't have to safety on, safety off stuff. So anyways, I hope this helps someone out there. You have a good one. Bye.
I want my pistol back.